Indian's women cricket team has just won their first ever ICC World Cup title. Across India, the celebrations are everywhere, in living rooms, on rooftops, on the streets. And the BCCI has declared a 51 crore rupee reward. People are calling this women's cricket's 1983 moment, because 42 years ago, another Indian team had changed the country's relationship with cricket forever. But maybe, just maybe, this moment is bigger than any before it. Not because it outshines 1983, but because it carries the weight of a fight far older, far deeper than just one tournament. For decades, women's cricket in India survived quietly, unseen, unheard, and left to fend for itself. From 1972 to 2006, it was run not by the BCCI, but by a small determined body called the Women's Cricket Association of India, or the WCAI. A small struggling organization with no money, no sponsors, and almost no support. Players traveled in unreserved train compartments, carried their own kids, and slept on dormitory floors. Former captain Shanta Rangaswamy once recalled how they had to carry their own bedding. They played for passion, not pay, and the WCI survived on goodwill and borrowed money. So even as we celebrate this victory, we cannot ignore the harder truth that women's cricket in India has always fought two battles, one on the pitch and one against the system itself. While this World Cup has been a true sporting triumph, it also reveals the cracks that still run deep, cracks that need to be fixed. Because if the structures remain unequal and underfounded, then this victory could just fade, remembered as a moment and not as a movement. Let me explain. Every week, my colleagues and I ask you to become paid members. It may sound like a routine reminder, but it is not. We mean it seriously. The only way to keep journalism free is if the audience pays for it. We have been trying to sustain ourselves as a newsroom through audience revenue, not corporate influence or political funding. So I want you to really think of news as something worth paying for regularly, because the news you read, the investigations we do, the voices we amplify, all of it eventually shapes your life, your city, and your rights. So click on this QR code or look at the links in the description below and become a subscriber. This World Cup campaign was anything but perfect. 3 back-to-back losses in the league stage, endless trolling online, and a captain under fire. And yet, these women turned it around, with grit, with anger, and with a quiet determination to be taken seriously. It's tempting to see this as a clean, redemptive fairy tale, the underdogs who made history. But this isn't only about sport. It's about women reclaiming a space that has shaped India's pride. It's about visibility, legitimacy, and power. It's like this photo Harmanpreet Kaur posted, the ICC World Cup trophy right beside her with the title, "Some dreams are shaped by a billion people. That's why cricket is everyone's game." Not gentleman, but everyone's game. For decades, women's cricket in India was run by the Women's Cricket Association of India. Women like Shanta Rangaswamy, Diana Edulji, and Sandhya Agarwal built the foundations of a game that BCCI barely acknowledged. But that changed in 2005-2006 when the ICC mandated that men and women's boards across the world should merge. And that's how women's cricket came under the BCCI. It was a turning point, but also a missed opportunity. Veteran sports journalist Sharada Ugra points out that in countries like Australia, the merger sparked investment and professionalism. But in India, it sparked indifference. The BCCI controlled the purse strings, but women's cricket stayed invisible. It took almost 10 years for central contracts to arrive, not until 2015. Only then did women cricketers finally begin to earn a steady income. And in 2017, everything changed. The visibility boom finally arrived. That year's Women's World Cup was a phenomenon. For the first time, every match was broadcast live. Millions watched Mithali Raj's calm leadership and Harmanpreet Kaur's 171 against Australia. India lost the final by 9 runs, but the country fell in love with the team. Girls in small towns picked up bats. Parents started saying, yeah, maybe she can play cricket. For the first time, the dream felt real. In 2022, BCCI Secretary Jay Shah announced equal match fees for men and women. It sounded revolutionary. Rupees 15 lakh per test, 6 lakh per ODI and 3 lakh per T20 match. But here's the catch. Women barely get to play. One test a year maybe, while the men play almost 10. So yes, the pay per match is equal, but the annual earnings are nowhere close. Top women like Harmanpreet Kaur or Smriti Mandhana earn rupees 50 lakh a year. Their male counterparts make rupees 7 crore. That's 14 times more. And this gap runs deeper than just contracts. Women's cricket still operates on a fraction of a budget. When the BCCI announced central contracts for women, only 10 players were on the list. They were paid a combined rupees 3.8 crores that year. The men, meanwhile, took home 81 crore rupees. 7 years later, not much has changed. In 2025-26, the BCCI plans to spend 92 crore on men's central contracts and just 6 crore on women's. That's barely 6% of what the men receive. And that is despite the fact that the Women's Premier League or the WPL has become a gold mine. Launched in 2023 with nearly $500 million investment, it's now the second biggest cricket league in the world after the IPL. As Sharda Ugra wrote, the WPL showed that women's cricket frequency may operate via lower heating and decibel levels. But what comes through is in no way less authentic. There was no aggression for show, just elegant, competitive, serious sport. It wasn't the women's version of the men's game. It was cricket, full stop. And the BCCI has already reported a surplus of over rupees 350 crores from it. But instead of funneling that money back into the women's domestic structure, most of it stays unused or diverted. For comparison, the board spends rupees 344 crore on men's domestic cricket every year and just 96 crore on women's. As the Times of India pointed out, the Ranji Trophy alone costs rupees 111 crores. Women's cricket doesn't even have an equivalent multi-day interstate tournament. Without long format matches, players cannot build endurance. Selectors can't spot all-rounders and coaches cannot identify future leaders. Of course, it's notable that the BCCI announced a cash prize of 51 crore rupees for the Indian women's team. And it was apparently more than what Australia received after the 2023 Men's World Cup. Indian men's team, by the way, received rupees 152 crore after the T20 World Cup win in 2024. Okay, let's say this is just a reward and it's up to the BCCI to decide on the amount. But financial fairness is also about respect, about acknowledging that women cricketers aren't doing anyone a favor by being here, that this is not a side project. Now some more numbers for you. Back in 2017-18, the BCCI's total spending on women's international tours was just rupees 6 crore. It was after the women proved themselves as world class in the 2017 World Cup that the budget jumped fourfold to rupees 24 crore. This year, it's up to 69.5 crores with rupees 85 crore reserved for 2025-26. That is progress, but it's still a sliver compared to the men's game. Despite all this, the spirit of Indians' women cricket endures. The foundation laid by women who played without pay or glory has finally borne fruit. Shanta Rangaswamy said it best before the final. From travelling unreserved and sleeping on floors to lifting the World Cup, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. This victory will change things, and maybe now the BCCI will have to reckon with more than optics, more matches, fairer contracts and actual accountability. Because when you draw 190 million viewers for a final, when stadiums fill up and sponsors line up, you are not a sunrise industry anymore. You are the main event. And this is also not about women being allowed into the game. It's about changing who the game belongs to. So maybe it's time we stop calling it women's cricket. It's cricket, as fierce, as skillful, and as Indian as it gets. Only this time, it belongs to everyone. It's like this photo that went viral after the win, A young boy running up a flight of stairs wearing a jersey that reads Smriti 18. No earth-shattering slogan or statement, just a child who now sees his hero in a woman cricketer. That's what this moment means.